Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful today. Liam's gratitude, Grace's error, and Finn's suspicion. Now that he has no tumor, Liam Spencer will be thankful for another opportunity at life. John Finn Finnegan appears to be dubious about this medical miracle in the meanwhile. That would spell disaster for Grace Buckingham, who appears to be about to commit another careless error in her covert plan. Liam Spencer's miracle in medicine. First, let's talk about Liam's medical marvel. Although not immediately, Liam was informed that he had an incurable brain tumor. According to the physicians, Liam's collapse was caused by brain enlargement. There was no mention of tumors. Grace said that the neurologist just noticed the tumor during a follow-up MRI following the surgery. So, did Grace fabricate the story that Liam had a tumor, or did they actually miss it the first time? Appreciation and second chances. Returning to Liam, he is ecstatic and overwhelmed by the news that his brain tumor has been totally gone. Everyone had been expecting Liam to die just a few days earlier. He would have finally died from the tumor if it hadn't been for the bullet. Accordingly, Liam will want to make sure he lives his second opportunity at life well. For Liam, that entails giving Kelly and Beth Spencer the best father he can. John Finnegan is doubting. According to Monday, July 21st teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Finn was dubious when Bill Spencer discussed the treatment. Finn requested success numbers and literature. Bill dismissed it, though, as he had none of that. Just Grace's promise. If done the right way, Bill said, the process would be bogged down in red tape. Grace then informed Bill that the tumor had completely disappeared. Fans are aware that Grace recently received $1 million. Therefore it is only natural for her to assert that Liam is doing better. Finn might try to challenge Grace and probably conducts his own investigation. Another error might occur when Grace falters or fails to provide him with the specifics. Finn will become even more suspicious as a result. Including Bridget Forrester in his probe would be typical of Finn. I wonder if the intimate collaboration between Finn and Bridget could result in passion. Liam Spencer, gaunt yet radiant, embraces a life resurrected from the grim certainty of oblivion. Mere days ago, the prognosis was a suffocating shroud, an inoperable brain tumor, a death sentence pronounced after a terrifying collapse initially misdiagnosed as mere swelling, only for the shadow of the mass to emerge later, a spectral presence revealed by Grace Buckingham with unsettling vagueness, just noticed during a subsequent MRI, a phrase that hangs in the air like a question mark etched in smoke, whispering doubts about whether the tumor was truly missed by skilled neurologists in the initial crisis, or if Grace, the orchestrator of this improbable salvation, wove the tumor itself into the narrative fabric from the start. Yet, for Liam, drowning in the euphoria of survival, the origins of the threat matter less than its vanquishing. The confirmation that the shadow is gone, utterly and completely removed by Grace's secretive, $1 million procedure, floods him with a gratitude so vast it borders on the sacred, a raw, trembling thankfulness for the sheer, unadulterated gift of breathing, of seeing his daughters Kelly and Beth's faces without the specter of his imminent absence darkening every moment. This second chance isn't merely an extension, it's a divine mandate, a core deep conviction that he must live differently, better, to be the present, devoted, unwavering father his girls deserve, to mend fractured bonds, to pour every ounce of his reclaimed existence into love and responsibility, a man reborn not just physically but spiritually, vowing to honor the impossible reprieve he's been handed with unwavering purpose and profound, life-altering appreciation. However, while Liam basks in the golden light of deliverance, a storm cloud gathers in the keen, analytical mind of Dr. John Finn Finnegan, his medical instincts screaming against the too convenient, too neat resolution of Liam's supposedly terminal condition. Finn's suspicion isn't mere professional curiosity, it's a deep-seated alarm bell triggered by Bill Spencer's casual revelation of the procedure, a clandestine, off-the-books intervention devoid of the fundamental pillars of medical science, data, literature, verifiable success rates. When Finn, embodying the Hippocratic Oath's demand for evidence, pressed Bill for details, for proof beyond Grace's whispered assurances, he was met with dismissive brush-offs and vague justifications about bureaucratic red tape hindering the right way. This evasion, far from quelling Finn's doubts, poured gasoline on them. Bill's reliance on Grace's word alone, coupled with her triumphant declaration that the tumor is 100% gone, a claim starkly juxtaposed in the viewer's mind with the chilling image of that $1 million payment landing in her account, transforms Grace from a miracle worker into a figure shrouded in dangerous opacity in Finn's eyes. He knows, with the certainty of a diagnostician reviewing flawed test results, that such radical, undocumented cures don't simply materialize without rigorous trials, peer review, or statistical validation. His mind races through possibilities: misdiagnosis, elaborate fraud, or a terrifyingly risky experimental gamble hidden behind layers of secrecy. This isn't skepticism, it's the crystallization of professional duty into a relentless investigative drive, a conviction that Liam's miracle stinks of something profoundly wrong, potentially putting the patient he once treated at grave risk, either from an undisclosed complication or the devastating psychological fallout of a lie. The inevitable collision course, then, lies between Finn's gathering storm of suspicion and Grace Buckingham's precarious position, a woman undoubtedly poised, by temperament and circumstance, to make another critical error under pressure. Grace, having already navigated a labyrinth of deception to secure the procedure and the payoff, now faces the most dangerous phase, maintaining the illusion of legitimacy under the piercing gaze of a brilliant, skeptical doctor. Her history, her very presence in this high-stakes medical conspiracy, suggests a capacity for sloppiness born of desperation or overconfidence. When Finn, armed with his own preliminary research likely revealing the utter absence of any documented, successful protocol matching Grace's vague description, inevitably corners her, perhaps under the guise of professional curiosity or patient follow-up, Grace will be forced to perform. And perform she must, without a script, without verifiable data, relying only on charm and evasion. This is where the fatal mistake will likely bloom, a stammer where certainty is required, a contradictory detail about the procedure's methodology, an implausible explanation for the lack of documentation, or a dismissive wave that feels more like panic than confidence. Her inability to produce the hard facts Finn demands, the surgeon's name, the clinic's location, pre- and post-operative scans from the secret facility, anything tangible, won't just fail to satisfy him, it will be the crack in the dam, the undeniable proof his medical intuition has been screaming for. Each flustered deflection, each overly elaborate excuse, each moment she fails to meet his direct, evidence-based inquiry will act like a chisel, widening the fissure in her story, confirming Finn's worst fears and transforming his suspicion into a crusade for truth. It's precisely this dynamic, the brilliant doctor dissecting the flustered con artist, that promises explosive confrontation. Furthermore, Finn, understanding the gravity and needing an ally with both medical expertise and deep familial ties to the situation, will almost certainly seek out Bridget Forrester. Bridget, a gifted physician herself and Steffi's half-sister, possesses not only the professional acumen to comprehend the medical improbabilities but also an intimate stake in Liam's well-being and the stability of her fractured family. Finn confiding his deep-seated doubts to Bridget is not just logical, it's narratively combustible. Their collaboration, poring over Liam's initial scans, comparing them to the post-miracle results, digging into Grace's background, trying to trace the phantom procedure, will force them into close, intense proximity, united by a shared secret mission and a profound ethical imperative. This partnership, forged in the fires of suspicion and the pursuit of truth, crackles with the undeniable potential for a different kind of heat. The long-simmering mutual respect and attraction between Finn and Bridget, often overshadowed by Finn's commitment to Steffi and the chaos surrounding them, finds fertile ground in this clandestine investigation. Late nights reviewing files, whispered conversations fueled by adrenaline and shared purpose, the intimate vulnerability of trusting someone with dangerous knowledge, these are the classic ingredients for passion to ignite or rekindle. While their primary focus is unraveling Grace's scheme and protecting Liam from potential harm, physical or emotional, the charged atmosphere of their alliance threatens to spill over into dangerous emotional territory, adding a layer of personal risk and volatile complication to the already perilous medical mystery. Therefore, Liam Spencer's profound gratitude, a luminous force driving him towards redemption and familial devotion, exists in fragile counterpoint to the darkening cloud of Finn Finnegan's intensifying suspicion. Liam's joy is genuine, born of relief and the promise of a future reclaimed, yet it rests upon a foundation potentially built on Grace Buckingham's deceit. Finn, the unwitting antagonist to Liam's bliss but the potential savior from a more profound betrayal, represents the intrusion of harsh reality into the miracle narrative. Grace, caught between the grateful beneficiary and the relentless investigator, stands on the precipice of a mistake born of the pressure to sustain her deception, a mistake Finn is exquisitely positioned to exploit. Her next faltering step, her inability to withstand his scrutiny, won't just confirm his doubts, it will be the detonator that could blow Liam's second chance apart, revealing not a divine intervention, but a costly, dangerous charade. And as Finn and Bridget delve deeper, their partnership fueled by ethics and laced with the spark of potential romance, they become the twin engines driving the narrative towards an inevitable, potentially devastating, revelation. Liam's gratitude is pure, Finn's suspicion is necessary, Grace's mistake is inevitable, their convergence is the ticking time bomb at the heart of this fragile, newfound peace. The miracle, it seems, was only the prelude, the real drama lies in its unraveling. Finn plays detective with stunning results, which is a huge flaw in Grace's plot. The plot of Grace Buckingham. Here is what spectators may anticipate from John Finn Finnegan, who will also play detective with amazing outcomes. Bill Spencer confirmed that Liam Spencer's tumor was completely removed after receiving the MRI results from Grace. As Friday's show came to an end, there were some moments of celebration, but Finn was obviously unable to get rid of the uneasy sensation. Finn is not going to let this go, judging by the thoughtful expression on his face. Naturally, Bill doesn't care about the specifics of Liam's surgery, he is just relieved that he will live. In contrast, Finn is a doctor who prefers to know everything, particularly in circumstances as bizarre as this one. Finn will play detective in Monday's B&B episode in an attempt to solve all of this. You can bet that Grace will end up on the hot seat because Bill stated that she and her colleague were in charge of the operation. Grace's plan has a serious issue because she ought to have done more to conceal her involvement in this. Bill undoubtedly would have done so out of gratitude if Grace had urged him to keep her name out of it. Grace might have gotten away with it if she had approached this situation differently. But because Grace was so eager to obtain Bill's $1 million, she became careless. Grace won't be able to respond appropriately to the questions that Finn will now pose. Bad news is on the horizon since Grace's agitation is sure to cause her to become agitated and generate even more suspicions. Finn might speak with Bridget Forrester once more to seek her opinion on this strange circumstance. In the end, Bridget and Finn might discover that Grace has pulled off the biggest fraud of all time. It appears that Grace set everything up to ultimately get Bill's money by fabricating a brain tumor for Liam. Grace will manage to get out of any debt problem she finds herself in, but if she loses her job and gets arrested, it might cost her more than she anticipated. Liam Spencer's harrowing medical crisis, Bill Spencer's jubilant confirmation via MRI results that the life-threatening brain tumor was miraculously 100% gone, wasn't the closing curtain Grace Buckingham had desperately hoped for. Instead, it became the overture to her meticulously constructed scheme's spectacular unraveling, precisely because her plot harbored a colossal, self-inflicted flaw that John Finn Finnegan, with his doctor's instinct for anomalies and a detective's nascent curiosity, was uniquely positioned to exploit, leading to consequences far more devastating than the financial ruin she initially sought to escape. Grace's fundamental error wasn't in the audacity of the scam itself, fabricating a terminal diagnosis, manipulating Bill's paternal terror and boundless wealth, and orchestrating a fake experimental cure to pocket a cool $1 million, but in her catastrophic neglect of operational security after the payoff, a blind spot born of avaricious haste and misplaced confidence that left her fatally exposed to the very scrutiny she should have anticipated and actively neutralized. While Bill Spencer, awash in relief and gratitude, understandably saw only his son's survival and had zero inclination to question the miraculous details, doesn't care about the details of his procedure, Finn, embodying the physician's creed demanding evidence and understanding, especially for wild cases like this one, couldn't silence the dissonant alarms ringing in his clinical mind. The pensive look etching his features as Friday's celebrations unfolded wasn't mere contemplation, it was the ignition of an investigative engine. This flaw crystallized the moment Bill, in his effusive gratitude, openly credited Grace and her colleague as the architects of Liam's salvation. Grace, in her frenzied scramble to secure the life-saving million to escape her undisclosed debt crisis, committed the fatal blunder of not securing her anonymity as a non-negotiable condition of the deal. She failed to leverage Bill's immense gratitude, a powerful, pliable force in that euphoric moment, to demand absolute secrecy, to insist her name be scrubbed from the narrative entirely. A simple, urgent plea to Bill: please, for the integrity of the experimental protocol and my colleagues' privacy, you must never mention my involvement publicly or to anyone else. My role must remain completely confidential, would almost certainly have been honored without question by a man indebted for his son's life. Bill, focused solely on the outcome, not the mechanics, would have readily agreed, constructing his celebratory narrative around a conveniently vague team of specialists or cutting-edge clinic. This critical omission, this lack of foresight to vanish into the shadows after cashing the check, wasn't incidental, it was the direct result of Grace's greed-induced sloppiness. The $1 million prize blinded her to the essential next step: cover her tracks. She was in such a frantic hurry to get her hands on Bill's $1 million that she neglected the crucial phase of operational withdrawal, leaving her identity and direct involvement dangling like a loose thread just waiting for a curious mind to pull. It is this exposed thread that Finn, transitioning seamlessly from healer to hunter, grasps with unwavering determination in Monday's unfolding drama. Armed with Bill's offhand revelation about Grace's pivotal role, Finn's investigation takes direct aim, placing Grace squarely on the hot seat. His questions won't be the superficial inquiries of a relieved family friend, they will be the probing, precise interrogations of a medical professional dissecting an implausible narrative. He will demand specifics Bill never thought to ask for: the exact nature of the experimental procedure, the pharmacological mechanisms of the trial drug, the imaging protocols confirming both the tumor's initial severity and its complete disappearance, the credentials and location of the elusive colleague, the peer-reviewed basis for such a rapid, unprecedented cure. And here, Grace's hastily constructed facade, lacking the depth to withstand expert scrutiny, will begin to crumble. She won't have the right answers because the answers don't exist in medical reality. Her explanations will be evasive, contradictory, or rely on vague jargon that instantly raises Finn's suspicions higher. Her carefully maintained composure, essential for a deceiver, will fracture under the pressure of Finn's relentless, calm questioning. The very act of being investigated by a respected doctor, the fear of imminent exposure for a crime of this magnitude, will trigger visible agitation and cause her to become flustered. This loss of control is the second fatal symptom of her initial flaw: her emotional response, the nervous stammering, the defensive anger, the overly elaborate justifications, won't quell Finn's doubts, it will raise even more suspicions, acting as a glaring confirmation that something is profoundly wrong. Her panic is the accelerant on the fire her sloppy planning ignited. Recognizing the bizarre complexity of the situation and the limits of his own initial investigation, Finn's logical next move, consulting the equally sharp and ethically grounded Bridget Forrester, transforms a solo inquiry into a formidable tag team of medical and familial insight. Bridget, with her deep knowledge of the family dynamics, Bill's vulnerabilities, and her own medical acumen, provides the crucial contextual lens. Together, pooling Finn's focused skepticism and Bridget's understanding of the players and potential motives, they form an investigative powerhouse. They will dissect the timeline, the sudden appearance of the tumor coinciding with Grace's financial desperation, the conveniently exclusive access she provided to an unknown treatment, the astronomical fee demanded with urgency, the complete lack of standard oncological oversight or second opinions, and finally, the miraculously instantaneous and total cure delivered just after payment. The gaping holes Grace couldn't plug become undeniable. Between the two of them, Bridget and Finn may ultimately figure out not just inconsistencies, but the horrifying, audacious truth: Grace Buckingham didn't cure a brain tumor, she invented one. She made up a brain tumor for Liam, falsified medical records, manipulated scans, or accessed real ones under false pretenses, orchestrated a phantom treatment, and exploited a father's worst fear to score Bill's money. It's the scam of the century played out in the intimate, high-stakes world of Los Angeles wealth and power. The stunning result of Finn playing detective, therefore, isn't merely uncovering deception, it's the complete demolition of Grace Buckingham's life. While she may have temporarily wiggled out of whatever debt crisis she's stuck in, the cost is existential. Exposure means immediate, irrevocable professional annihilation. Her medical license, the foundation of her identity and livelihood, will be stripped away in disgrace. But beyond professional ruin lies the specter of criminal prosecution, fraud on a massive scale, forgery of medical documents, potentially endangering Liam, depending on what treatments or placebos were administered, and emotional torture inflicted on the Spencer family. The $1 million becomes worthless compared to the loss of her career, her reputation, her freedom, and any future prospects. Grace's fatal flaw, the arrogant, greedy oversight of failing to secure her anonymity when she held maximum leverage, created the narrow opening. Finn's inherent professionalism, his refusal to accept a medical miracle without evidence, his calm persistence, and his strategic alliance with Bridget turned that opening into a yawning chasm swallowing Grace whole. Her plot wasn't merely flawed, it contained the seeds of its own catastrophic destruction, seeds that germinated the moment Finn's pensive gaze saw not just a celebration, but a medical and moral puzzle demanding solution, leading to stunning results that promise not celebration, but utter ruin for the architect of the lie. The tumor was fake, but the consequences of its invention are terrifyingly, inescapably real for Grace Buckingham.